Hey, basketball players, did you know that being highly skilled in basketball is not the only thing that you need to be if you want to be a great player? You need to be a smart player as well. So to be a smart player in basketball, there's a few things that you need to know. Of course, you need to be able to look up and see what's happening on the court. You can't be just dribbling with your head down. That is 100%, you can't do that. Number two is, when you're looking up, whether you're on offense, you're dribbling the ball up the court, you're scanning the court, seeing what options are open, what defense is being ran, that leads me into my next point. And that is being able to see while you're on offense what the other team is doing. Are they running a 2-3 zone? Are they running a 3-2 zone? Are they running a man-to-man defense? And then, knowing what your team is able to do when it comes to plays, what plays to run if you're going up against the 2-3 zone, what plays to run if you're going up against a man-to-man defense, but also who's on the court with you on offense. Do you have those two post players who are really good against a zone defense where you could run? Maybe your team runs a 3-out, 2-in, and you can pass to the wing, you cut towards the low corner, and now you've got two post players and you've overloaded that side. Do you have the ability to have those two do you have those two players in the court, and do you have the ability to run that play? Or would you be better off running a 5-out right now? Now, I understand that there are coaches out there who will coach from the sideline and say, yo, Billy, run number 3. Johnny, run number 2. And they're always continuously coaching, but 90% of the coaches out there are not like that, and they want you, and I'm one of those coaches who want you to make the decision yourself. And I've coached teams where the first couple of games, the player who's dribbling up the court's looking back at me and saying, yo, Coach Al, what are we going to run? And I'm like, run number 2, 1, or it doesn't matter. Like, I want to see if you can make the decision. If you're not making the right decisions, that's when I will start making the right decisions. I was a guard when I was a player. I was a guard. I was a damn good one. I made it to the NBA Development League, and believe me, I can call the plays. I want to see if you can call the plays. Because if you are going to be a smart basketball player, or if you want to go to the next level, you're going to be calling the plays when you're on the court. So, you need to be the captain of your team. If you're a guard and you're dribbling the ball up the court, you're calling the play. If they're running a 3-2 and you don't have your two post players, you're running a 5-out, or whatever offense that your team is incorporating. I personally, as a coach, incorporate a 5-out and a 3-out, 2-in motion. And I also have a couple of set plays that work off of those motion offenses. I also run a motion triangle as well, but this is getting into a totally different type of video. You need to be an X's and O's players so that you can understand what's going on the basketball court. Now, on defense, when you're moving back on defense, your coach has probably already told you what defense is running. Personally, as a coach myself, I'm going to tell my team, hey, we're running the one for Unbeatable, which is a book that I sell on my website. It's a defense that I created. But we also run a man-to-man and a couple of other different types of zone defenses just to really make the other team confused. And you will already know what zone we're running. But you as a captain, as a guard, or maybe even as a center, I like to have a couple of centers as captains as well because they're way back in the back of the zone usually, being able to see what everyone is running. And if they say, hey, we're running a 2-3 right now, and Billy is up there running a 3-2, Billy, get back in the right corner. You're not running a 3-2 right now. And you need to be communicating on the court. And that's getting into my next point, which is, as a smart player, you need to be able to communicate on the court. Hey, set a screen left, and somebody comes. You need to be able to communicate on defense. Hey, Brandon, screen left. Brandon, screen left. Or number 3, screen left. Or just in general, screen left, fight. If I'm saying fight as a player to my teammate, that means you better be fighting over top of that screen because I'm not hedging. So if I say, hey, I'm hedging, that means that I'm hedging. If my guy rolls and he's going quick, you need to go switch off fast. If we're not switching and I say no switch, but hedge, that means Usually it's a no switch hedge, no switch hedge. That means don't worry about my guy rolling. I'm not worried about him. We need to stop this guy from shooting. You're fighting through. I'm popping up for the shot deflection or the shot contest, and then I'll go sprint back to my player. And you need to be able to communicate that to your team. And believe me, different teams, different coaches, different players have different things that they say. Hedge means that I'm popping out on a player who's using a screen. That's my own terminology. Protect the net, or I got screen. That means that, hey, I got the roller. Don't worry. If I say, hey, fight, that means I'm not hedging. You need to go over top because my guy's going to be rolling and I'm not trusting you because you're an undersized guard, that my center is going to be rolling towards the basket. So things like that is going to be able to communicate to your team what's going on the court, especially if his back is towards the guy who's about to screen for him. And being able to communicate with your team helps you become a smart basketball player. The next point I'm going to give you is understanding the plays of your team, but also understanding the plays that you might be coming up against or going up against very soon. So, let's say you are running up against a very good team. You're there watching that team play maybe 3 hours before you're playing them. You better be there saying, hey, and maybe you have coach base on your clipboard. It doesn't really matter. Maybe you have your own clipboard, or maybe you're just keeping it in your head like I do. And you just say, okay, well, let's write this down. And this is a picture in my head, but I'm going to do it on an app called Coachbase. You can get this on your own iPad and you can see how they're doing it. So you can say, okay, hey, that other team is running a 2-3 zone defense. They're really trapping hard up top. So what I want to see happen is I want to try and beat. This guy's a little bit slower and this guy's quicker. So by saying this guy is slower, I want to attack that player and I want to try and beat that gap. By beating that gap, you're now creating that double team that's going to be lowering these players. I'm going to pass the ball over towards player 2, and if he's a good shooter, player 2 may be Brandon, and he's a fantastic shooter. I don't know what that player's name is on your team, but let's say he's a fantastic shooter. That's going to give him an easy basket. Now, of course, we're not running a play, but you don't always have to run a play because now we're just running a read and react where we read that it was a 3-2 zone or a 2-3 zone in this case. Player 2 was slow. We attacked. We got player 2 an open shot. Or maybe he passed down to player 5 because player 3 was able to recover quick enough. Now player 1 may want to continue cutting, or I might want to continue cutting because, of course, player 5 is going to be overplaying on our center because he's huge, and that's what they're doing on the team that they were playing against. We may be able to pass the player. He might be able to pass back to me for a layup. That might bring player 4 in for a kick over to player 4 blue, or maybe a kick out for a 3. There's so many different options, but you can run different simulations in your head or maybe even on a clipboard by just looking at, hey, player 2 is slow. They're consistently running a 2-3 zone defense. And then you can see what the other team runs on offense. Hey, they keep on feeding number 5 in that low corner, and he always hits it. He's their center, but he's popping out. They're driving. They're getting that double team, and they're passing it out to him. We need to really protect that. And if your coach isn't necessarily scouting out the other team like you are, you might be able to go to your coach and say, hey, just so you know, player 5 on their team, he's a fantastic shooter. Even though he's a tall center, he's popping out. They're driving and they're dishing it out to him for a 3. So they're collapsing the defense, getting the center out and kicking it. And your coach is, for one, probably really going to like that suggestion, but also it's going to help you on defense knowing that, hey, if I got my center, if my guard is driving towards the basket, my center comes out and helps out my drive, I'm going to say, well, forget about it. I'm going to go and attack and stop that player from shooting. When they kick that ball out, I've already left my man to go and contest that shot. So there's little things like that you can have in your brain, in your head, so that you know what you need to do on the basketball court. Of course, this is a very important video for every single player, so if you got friends that would benefit from a video like this, make sure to share it with them. And on every single day in the afternoon, if you're new to this channel, I post basketball plays, drills, and skills for basketball players. So make sure to check those out. I'll see you guys again tomorrow for another Twice a Day basketball video.